Do you ever feel like you're just different than the people you're around, maybe in your family, maybe in the people that you work with, maybe even in your friends? You know, it's this idea of I'm the black sheep of the family. And I know so many people who feel that way because they're just different than the family that they grew up in. They don't think the same way. They don't like the same, kinds of things. And so you grow up with this idea of just being different. I'm Brenda, Florida, life coach and lifestyle advisor. And today in our Live Lavishly Light episode, we're going to talk about this concept of being different and how absolutely okay that is. So again, I'm going to evoke the wisdom from this book, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I probably said that wrong, or a little bit wrong. Didn't pronounce it correctly. The Feminist Manifesto and 15 Suggestions. So this is a book she wrote to a friend who had a little baby girl and asked her to help her raise her in a gender equal environment. This is the same woman who wrote the book We Should All Be Feminists, and there are TED Talks about that as well. She's done some fabulous TED Talks. So check her out because she is definitely a bright light in our world. But one of her suggestions to this mother is to teach her daughter about difference. Make difference ordinary. Make difference normal. Teach her not to attach value to difference because difference is the reality of our world. And by teaching her about difference, you're equipping her to survive in a diverse world. I mean, isn't that really the beginning of all prejudice, is the idea that being different from how I am, whether you're a different color, you're a different gender, you have different religious beliefs, whatever it is, you don't like the same kind of art I do, you have a different opinion about that. I mean, you can get all wound up about liking a different sports team, right? So we have this sort of conditioning that things that are different than we are not as good as, or are suspect, or maybe to be feared, right? There are a lot of things I was taught to be afraid of because they were different. So think about that and how the subtle and maybe overt ways that that's impacted your life. And let's make the conscious decision to change that, to embrace diversity, to embrace people who think differently than we do. Because even if it's a situation, a concept, or a belief that you don't agree with, there's often something to be learned from really being opening and listening to the person who's coming from a different perspective. And you may still, decide at the end of the conversation that you're going to respectfully disagree with them, and that's okay. We get this idea that in order to love each other, or in order to have intimacy, or in order to be close, we have to agree on everything, and that's so not true. There are so many healthy environments. In fact, the healthiest environments at work, at home, in community, are ones that allow for difference, that even embrace difference. I mean, really, how boring would the world be if we all thought the same and dressed the same and had the same values from the standpoint of, I love to cook and I love to eat, and that's the way everybody should be. Well, no, that's not the way everybody should be. And that may sound like a really sort of shallow, insignificant example, but it's not. It's what breeds bigger things, where if you don't agree with me politically, then you're just wrong. You're just, I want to cut you off. I'm going to distance myself. If we want to live in a loving, kind world, we have to learn to value difference. You don't have to agree with it, but to live lavishly in this diverse world, we have to be able to feel free and open to hear and consider different ideas, people with differences of opinions from ours, and then also just embrace that that's okay, that being kind and accepting towards somebody who's different than you is a beautiful thing. It's not about trying to get everybody to agree with us and be the same as us. So I hope as your week moves forward that you will look for ways to embrace diversity in your life, and we can truly live lavishly when we can do that. Thanks for joining me, everyone.